When I reached the bridge level, I found it a shambles of dead bodies with only 3 or 4 people still standing. In the pilot house itself, the only person standing was the signalman at the wheel, who was vainly endeavoring to check the ship's swing to starboard and to bring her to port. On questioning him, I found out that the captain, who was at that time lying near the wheel, had instructed him to beach the ship, and he was trying to head the ship for Savo Island, distant some 4 miles on the port quarter. I stepped to the port side pilot house, looked out to find the island, and noted that the ship was heeling rapidly to port, sinking by the bow. At that instant, the captain straightened up and fell back, apparently dead, without having uttered any sound other than a moan. Lieutenant Commander Harry B. Henneberger, Gunnery Officer, USS Quincy. What's up, folks? This is Steele. Welcome to History in Combat. What I have for you today is the Tier 3 Japanese light cruiser Tenryu. I'm divisioned up with Captain Crit from the Taste Channel on YouTube. He's in a Samson. Now, even though the Tenryu is a Tier 3 ship, I consider it a finesse ship, really. Its contemporary is the St. Louis, which we all know is an absolute beast of a gunboat. The Tenryu has elements of both gunboat and destroyer torpedo boat. Because of this, it doesn't perform either role particularly effectively. But in the hands of a decent captain, with an understanding of mechanics and what the ship can and can't do, I didn't say it wasn't a good ship. But you do see a ton of less experienced captains playing this ship to its weakest points, which gets them in trouble and gets them killed. And what I mean by that is, less experienced players have a tendency to forget that it has guns that have decent range and decent accuracy, and they fall in love with the torpedoes as if it was a destroyer, which it is not. Tache Booch. The primary reason why you can't play this like a destroyer is it has a citadel. Alright. South Carolina's going to get some HE in the face. Oh, Dursky. Dursky do.
Dursky do, neighborino.
I missed? How did I miss? Watch, you got a touch behind you.
Yep, I'm turning out hard.
The spot distance on this ship is 8.3 kilometers, whilst the torp range is 7 kilometers. You can't stealth torp in this. So if you enter an engagement with the idea of using your torps, you have to turn full broadside to ships that can citadel you to drop your torps. And that's the one big error I see less experienced players making in this ship. But I'm also not saying you never use your torps in this. You use them in the ambush role or in the kiting role. Wait, how did I miss those? Dursky do. Dursky do.
And I hope that Samson kills that Touch because I don't like him sitting there.
Oh my god.
It's a dangerous spot for us.
The Tenryu was the lead ship of her class, launched March 1918 during World War I. She came out around 4,000 tons. And if I said this was a hybrid between a cruiser and a destroyer, because that's what it was designed to be. I can't hit this guy, he's too small. The Japanese were basically mimicking some British naval strategies at the time, and what the Tenryu turned out to be was a flagship for destroyer flotillas, essentially a destroyer leader. Who's bigger threat, Umikaz or Dursk?
Umi. Umi so rouge.
The Tenryu was a powerful ship despite her size. To put it in perspective, it had twice the horsepower of the Chikuma. It needed that power to be able to keep up with the destroyers that it was escorting.
Torpedoes, direct front. Torpedoes to starboard. Enemy destroyer foundered.
Those are the long-range Umikaz torpedoes, I think. Alright, get by, come on. It was armed with 4 140mm gun turrets and featured 6 21-inch torpedoes and 2 launchers. Debating whether or not to go mid.
Oh, because you think they're capping?
There's a Dresden and a Toch down there. But it wasn't a perfect design by any means. All the guns are located in the center line, which limited their angle of fire. On top of this, if it was heading towards or away from a target, it could only shoot one gun. Oh, it's not a Dresden, it's a Himalayan. So if you're a new player and you're planning on starting the Tenryu or the Japanese cruiser line, I advise you not to fall in love with your torps. They hit hard, but you should use your guns first and wait for torpedo opportunities to come to you. Isolated close-range battleships, cruisers, destroyers, ambushes around island are all perfect times to torp. Oh, Pete's going for it all!
Yes, sir. Oh no, I'm gonna get torped.
Oh no, Durst!
I got ambush torped by Dursky.
Oh,
Holy
he knew
shit.
you were coming too.
Yeah, he did. Damn it.
Alright, so since we established that in the game the Tenryu should not be played like a destroyer because it has a citadel, in real life it was actually quite the opposite. In organized fleet actions, the Tenryu was a dangerous ship. Deployed with other cruisers and destroyers, it was another platform for the Japanese to deploy their main weapon, which was torpedoes.
Damn, Dursky just nailed me. South Kersey's was his bait.
He jumped you like a jackrabbit.
Yeah, he did.
I was trying to think of that for like 2 minutes. He jumped you like a jackrabbit on a sausage. That doesn't make sense.
I did not.
Before I go into the history of the Tenryu, I wanted to show you some few tricks. I'm targeting these ships that are spotted with torpedoes to gauge their speed and direction. I'm certainly concerned about the number of enemy ships that are approaching, but I know that this island in front of me is my best friend. That's a place where I can hide my citadel and still be able to drop torps at them. Unless you're at max range, the open sea is not favorable to the Tenryu, especially if you're heading within 8 clicks of enemy ships. In open sea, even if you survive the initial charge in to drop your torps, they are not guaranteed to hit. But what is guaranteed is you will lose half or more of your health trying to do so.
Yeah, because then you're kind of stuck, right? Also, then you're stuck. It's tough to turn around. There he is. What's the range on your torp? 7?
7. He
That
can
could be
drive in.
nice. Yeah. So what's your spot range?
But as you're about to see, within 5 clicks in a one-on-one dogfight, the Tenryu is downright nasty, especially against destroyers.
Yeah, St. Louis's. St. Louis's is coming in. If you wanted to.
Oh shit! There's a hide.
Oh, Wiki, he's in trouble. That was a good turn, because now St. Louis really can't support.
Torpedoes to starboard.
You can't see torps when you're in your smoke.
Nice,
Oh
dude.
shit! Oh, those are good ones.
We've sunk an enemy destroyer.
Hopefully they fizzle. Oh!
Woo!
That was awesome, dude.
Torpedoes
Watch out for his torps. What's your reload on your torps for that St. Louis?
I got 16 seconds.
You really don't want to go in there without torps.
Yeah. Oh no! There sure is.
He's driving straight so far as I can tell.
Yeah, but oh no.
Lead indicators messed up.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Is that gonna hit?
Nope. I don't think
Or are
so.
you just hoping that he turns in?
I'm hoping he turns in.
The good news is he's got other targets now.
As you can see, I'm doing everything I can to not expose my citadel and to not get hit.
Wouldn't that be amazing if that South Carolina or that South Carolina moved into him?
Well, he's got to have him spotted at this point, so. And here you can see that that one rearward-facing gun is a liability.
Good rate of fire on those guns.
Oh, I got a torpid. Sweet. So the strategy is pretty simple. Close in, kill with the torps. When ships are farther away, deter with the torps and use your guns. Get them disoriented, get their guns turning, use that as an opportunity to escape, or move to a more favorable position.
That South Carolina's dead meat with your torps, dude. What's your next reload?
I'm reloaded. The Tenryu was launched just before World War I ended, but it was involved in an international incident called the Siberian Intervention. It's a little known fact that Germany herself was involved in the creation of the Bolshevik Party. Their intention was to create a civil war in Russia so that they could free up troops from the Eastern Front and move them to the West. Little did Germany know, however, the Bolsheviks became the Soviets, and the Soviets became, well, the Soviet Union. At that time, however, Japan was tentatively part of the Allies, and I say tentatively because really Japan during the latter stages of World War I was only concerned with its own interests. But with peace between Germany and Russia, the Allies needed Japan more than ever, and Japan initially refused to offer help.
Oh man.
It was only when the situation became strategically advantageous for the Japanese did they send actual troops, and they didn't necessarily do so to help the Allies out on the Western Front. Instead, they used it as an opportunity to gain possession and control of Russia's Pacific maritime provinces, ports, and towns.
Be cool if he puts out those fires, because then you have a chance at flood if the torps don't kill him. The fire put out, or is it still going?
It's 3 fires now. I don't know if he's going to hit those things. Oh, I might get
Yeah,
one.
what did he do? Throttle game you?
Now he's turned away. The Tenryu was 23 years old when World War II started.
He's dead if you got.
And it was
fires
relegated
and
to
they're
more
still going.
second-line duties, but not necessarily second line, because it wasn't part of the carrier groups and the main battle fleets, but it was part of some highly effective and efficient cruiser and destroyer
AP.
divisions
Oof.
down around the South Pacific and the Solomon Islands. She was involved in at least 10 invasions in the early stages of World War II, including New Ireland, New Britain, the Solomon Islands, like I said, New Guinea, Ley, Bougainville, and Rabaul.
Been 25 seconds. He's reloaded. Oh, he did. Good match, brother.
Thanks. Those hit for 1,000, 1,500, those 2 hits. That's crazy.
Oh man, that Dursky just. Oh, good. He died. Good, good, good.
The Tenryu's first real naval engagement occurred on August 9, 1942, the Battle of Savo Island, or otherwise referred to as the Battle of 5 Sitting Ducks. The Japanese won a major victory against the Allied Navy at that battle, but it was a case of winning the battle, yet failing to capitalize.
The ship is on fire.
How's your fires looking on this guy? I can't tell.
There's none yet. I think he might have repaired. I'll try to set some.
140 mil guns, so they probably don't have the best fire chance.
There's one. Now here's a good example of a tracer mod being able to help you determine what type of ammunition an enemy is shooting. In this case, this guy's been shooting HE the whole time. I am not concerned about getting Citadel. Later on, I will be.
Engine.
I got got widespread on torps, so hopefully one of them finds their home.
Look like Fizzle. Like Fizzes.
The Battle of Savo Island was one of the largest and most decisive early war naval battles in World War II. The Allies had just started a counterattack in the eastern Solomons, and the Japanese response was to send a couple of cruiser divisions and a couple of destroyer divisions into the Solomons to attack the Allied fleets and troop transports. The Allied fleet was commanded by British Rear Admiral Victor Crutchley. It was composed of 6 heavy cruisers, 2 light cruisers, and 15 destroyers, 23 ships. The Japanese fleet under the command of Vice Admiral Genichi Mikawa was 5 heavy cruisers, 2 light cruisers, and 1 destroyer. Because Allied naval radar targeting and acquisition was in its infancy, the Japanese had a major advantage at night, and that's what Mikawa wanted to exploit. Mikawa's plan was to approach Savo Island from the northwest under the cover of darkness. Using high speed, they would launch a set of torpedoes, make a U-turn, drop more torps, get engaged in some gunfights, and then withdraw. This high-speed, aggressive, and ambitious attack exposed another one of the Allied weaknesses at the time: communication. Mikawa's fleet, including the Tenryu, the Aoba, the Furutaka, were actually spotted traveling down the slot. First, by a submarine, who radioed in the location of a portion of Mikawa's fleet, but that communication was deemed unreliable and vague. Next, the fleet was spotted by British recon planes, who waited until they landed and had tea before transmitting the message. Mikawa, on the other hand, had perfect recon from his ship-launched float planes. They knew the exact location of all of the Allied ships. The Allies were split up into 3 forces: a north, a south, and an east, all located around Savo Island. But their crews were fatigued from constant Japanese air raids and being on high alert. During the Japanese approach, the column was almost spotted by the USS Blue, a destroyer on patrol. The Blue was doing racetrack patterns, but at the time she didn't even know it, the Japanese had spotted her, and 50 guns were trained in her direction. Mikawa ordered his fleet to drop throttle so that they would produce less wake, turn left, avoid the Blue, who had no idea that they were there, until the Blue turned around, and then Mikawa made his move. At 1:31 a.m., Mikawa's order was, quote, "Every ship attack." The Allied Southern Force was caught completely off guard. The Canberra was hit. The Chicago was hit. The Japanese then promptly turned north as planned. At this point, the Tenryu and the Yubari, who were at the rear of the Japanese column, split even more westward. The Allied Northern Force, comprised of the USS Quincy, the USS Vincennes, and Astoria, had no idea what was coming. It was only when the Japanese recon planes started dropping flares and the Aoba turned on her main spotlight that the Northern Fleet knew that they were in trouble. The air filled with Japanese naval artillery, and the water was filled with torpedoes. The Aoba, the Furutaka, the Tenryu, the Yubari all opened up. The Northern Force was completely enveloped, and there was nothing they could do about it. The Tenryu was traveling at flank speed, warm salt water splashing over its decks, the crews hard at work reloading the 140 mil guns. All that could be seen was the eerie glow of dropped aerial flares and the intense spotlight of the Aoba as it shone on one particular ship, the USS Quincy. The order on the Tenryu was to launch all torpedoes, which she did. On board the USS Quincy, the guns were initially trained inward. She only launched 2 salvos before she received 2 torpedo hits from the Tenryu. This on top of getting absolutely battered by Japanese shell fire. She sank moments after Lieutenant Commander Henneberger gave the abandoned ship. Almost before the Allies knew what was happening, the engagement was over. Mikawa ordered his ships to turn northwest and depart at high speed. He decided against attacking the vulnerable transports because he feared Allied aerial attack. Little did he know the carriers were nowhere near. If he did, it would have turned a victory for the Japanese into an absolute travesty for the Allies. When all was said and done, the Allies had lost 4 heavy cruisers: the Canberra, the Quincy, Vincennes, and Astoria. making the Battle of Savo Island the worst loss, quote unquote, in a fair fight that the U.S. Navy ever suffered.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching. Feel free to like or comment, and if you're interested in seeing more content in the future, subscribe. My live stream is currently on Twitch at the URL you can see right there. And if you're interested in even more World of Warships videos, I highly recommend The Taste. The link is down below. Thanks again.